Something unbelievable is happening beneath the ash of Pompeii, and it is rewriting what the world thought it knew about Roman life. Just when it seemed like every corner of this buried city had already told its story, archaeologists uncovered something so vivid, so unexpectedly alive, that it almost feels like stepping into a moment frozen in time. Deep inside Insula 10, a room has emerged with paintings so detailed they look like they were finished yesterday, not nearly 2,000 years ago. Imagine standing in a place where color has outlived empires, where walls still whisper stories of people who never imagined they would become history. This is not just another discovery. This is a reminder that the past is never really gone. It is just waiting to be uncovered. The painted room revelation. There is something deeply unsettling in how intact this room feels, almost like the owners just stepped out for a moment. The walls are covered in intricate frescoes, vibrant reds, deep blacks, and delicate gold accents that still hold their intensity. These are not random decorations, they tell stories, possibly mythological scenes, daily rituals, or even personal expressions of wealth and identity. What makes this discovery even more fascinating is how rare it is to find such well-preserved artwork in a residential setting, suggesting that the people who lived here were not just surviving but thriving in a culturally rich environment. It raises questions about who they were, what they valued, and how much of their personality was poured into these walls. Life inside Insula 10. Walking through Insula 10 feels less like exploring ruins and more like intruding on someone's paused life. This block of buildings was not just a collection of houses, it was a living, breathing neighborhood with shops, homes, and shared spaces. The newly discovered room adds another layer to that story, hinting at a lifestyle that balanced function with beauty. There is evidence of ongoing renovations, suggesting that residents were actively improving their spaces right up until the eruption of Mount Vesuvius in 79 AD. That detail alone changes everything, because it shows a community that had no idea what was coming. It is strangely relatable, thinking about how people plan for the future without realizing how unpredictable life can be. And yet, in the middle of all that uncertainty, they still chose to create something beautiful. The artistic mastery. The craftsmanship in this room is not just impressive, it is almost intimidating. The level of detail in the frescoes suggests highly skilled artists who understood perspective, shading, and storytelling in ways that still resonate today. These were not quick decorations, they required time, resources, and a clear vision. The pigments used were expensive, which hints at the wealth or status of the homeowner. But beyond the technical skill, there is an emotional depth in the artwork that feels surprisingly modern. It is the kind of art that makes you pause and look closer, trying to understand what the artist was thinking. And it is hard not to wonder how many other masterpieces were lost forever, buried beyond recovery or destroyed before they could ever be seen again. On a glimpse of daily rituals. Some of the imagery in the room suggests scenes tied to rituals or traditions, possibly linked to Roman beliefs and household practices. This turns the space into more than just a decorative room. It becomes a window into how people lived, what they believed, and how they connected with the world around them. There is something fascinating about seeing these personal aspects of history, because they remind us that ancient people were not so different. They had routines, habits, and moments of reflection just like anyone today. It creates a strange sense of familiarity, like looking at a distant version of modern life. The sudden interruption. One of the most haunting aspects of this discovery is the evidence that everything stopped abruptly. Tools left behind, unfinished work, and spaces that look mid-transformation all point to a sudden and chaotic end. The eruption of Mount Vesuvius did not just destroy buildings, it froze a moment in time with brutal precision. The painted room, in all its beauty, becomes even more powerful when seen through this lens. It is not just art, it is a snapshot of life interrupted. That contrast between creation and destruction adds a layer of emotion that is hard to ignore. It makes the room feel less like a museum piece and more like a story that was never meant to end this way. Why this discovery matters. It might be tempting to see this as just another archaeological find, but it goes far beyond that. Discoveries like this reshape understanding of Roman society, especially when it comes to domestic life and artistic expression. The painted room challenges assumptions about who had access to art and how it was used in everyday spaces. It also highlights the importance of preserving history because every new finding has the potential to change the narrative. There is a sense of urgency in continuing this work, knowing that there are still countless stories buried beneath layers of ash and time. The human connection. There is a powerful connection that forms when looking at something this personal from the past. It is easy to think of history as distant and disconnected, but discoveries like this bring it closer in a very real way. The painted room feels intimate, almost like a conversation across centuries. It reminds viewers that behind every artifact, there were real people with thoughts, emotions, and dreams. That realization changes how the entire site is experienced, turning it from a collection of ruins into a place filled with human stories. The ongoing excavation. What makes this even more exciting is that the work is far from over. Archaeologists are still uncovering new sections of Insula 10, and each layer reveals more details about how this area functioned. There is always the possibility that the next discovery could be even more significant, adding new pieces to an already complex puzzle. This sense of ongoing exploration keeps the story alive, making it feel like a continuous journey rather than a finished chapter. It also creates a kind of anticipation, knowing that there is still so much left to learn and uncover. Modern reactions and impact. The reaction to this discovery has been intense, not just among experts but also among people who are simply fascinated by history. Social media, documentaries, and news outlets have all highlighted the painted room as a major breakthrough. It has sparked renewed interest in Pompeii and drawn attention to the importance of archaeological research. There is something about seeing history come to life in such a vivid way that captures attention instantly. It turns abstract timelines into something tangible and real, making the past feel closer than ever before. The bigger picture. Looking at the painted room in the context of Pompeii as a whole reveals something even more profound. This city is not just a site of destruction, it is a record of life in incredible detail. Every discovery adds depth to that record, creating a more complete picture of what it meant to live in the Roman world. The room in Insula 10 is just one piece of that puzzle, but it is a powerful one. It shows that even in the face of sudden disaster, traces of human creativity and expression can endure. And that idea alone changes how history is understood. This discovery is more than just a headline. It is a reminder of how much is still waiting to be found. And if something this extraordinary can remain hidden for so long, it raises one simple question: what else is still out there, buried and waiting for its moment to be seen? If this kind of story pulls attention in, make sure to stay connected, because the next discovery might be even more unbelievable.